Hello, and welcome back to the Book Marketing Tips and Author Success Podcast. This is Penny Sansevieri,
and Amy Cornell.
And we are really excited. This was actually a show that Amy outlined and came up with the idea. And we're both really excited about this particular topic because Goodreads tends to be a little bit controversial, I know, and we're going to talk about that more in a little bit. But first and foremost, we want to thank you all for ideas that you send us. We love your show ideas. We love reviews. Amy put together a very easy way to review a book, and that's going to be in the show note. To review a book. Oh my gosh, listen to me. To review the podcast on iTunes, and that's in the show notes. So we love reviews. Without further ado, a handful of years ago, Amazon purchased Goodreads, and we were all kind of holding our breath, wondering what Amazon was going to do with Goodreads is this big platform with all these authors and all this other stuff. And Amazon just kind of sat on Goodreads for a long time. I mean, we saw a couple of minor things like Goodreads reviews were appearing on Amazon, and then sometimes they weren't. Like it's not consistent. You know what I mean? So I'm really thrilled to see this latest change that we're going to unpack in this episode. And I also think that it's worth mentioning that there's a lot of Goodreads haters out there. Amy and I see this both on Reddit strings and things, and authors just they hate on Goodreads, and sometimes they don't even know why. It's just kind of like, well, everybody hates Goodreads, so I should hate Goodreads. And not everybody actually hates Goodreads. I mean, they do a very robust service to authors, or complaining about the price of entry for the giveaway, which frankly is what this episode is anchored to. I mean, Amy, we see that a lot, right?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it's kind of a controversial platform, but I think a lot of that has to do with expectations for what it is and what it isn't. And so hopefully everybody will kind of get some reminders, refreshers, and tips on that as we break down this new announcement too.
Yeah. So basically, the announcement, the heart and soul of the announcement is that the Goodreads shelf, or the Goodreads want to read shelf, is now clickable, is accessible. Like you can click on the book and go straight to Amazon, which is such a cool thing, because when you're running a giveaway for your book, everybody who enters has your book added to the Goodreads want to read shelf. And now there's a clickable link right through to Amazon. I mean, Amy, that's because you are the resident Amazon expert. That is correct, is it not?
It's actually better than that. What this is doing is Amazon is actually incorporating the want to read shelf on the Amazon side now. So when people are shopping on Amazon, if somebody has a book on their want to read shelf, now when they're shopping on Amazon, Amazon is going to remind them that they wanted that book so they could add it to their cart while they're already in Amazon.
Okay, but the books are clickable from Goodreads as well, correct or no?
That's always been the case. Yeah, typically, Amazon has always let you go through to Amazon from the Goodreads, but now when people are just doing their regular shopping on Amazon, they're going to get reminders about the books that are on their want to read shelf while they're shopping. So we're talking like this is Amazon Goodreads version of impulse shopping almost.
Right, exactly, which I think is a really, really smart thing to do, because it creates a more unified shopping experience and discovery experience, but it also better unifies Goodreads and Amazon, because Goodreads is, again, it is an extremely robust site. And porting those titles over to Amazon, like, hey, this is on your Goodreads want to read shelf, is just so smart.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. And fewer clicks. You know what I mean?
Fewer clicks, which is really smart. And now you also had a note in the show notes about view them alongside your Amazon saved books. What do you mean by that? What does that mean?
So this is So like your Amazon list that you can create in Amazon. So when you say,
Oh, got
yeah.
it. Okay.
So basically, I mean, the very short version of this is that Amazon is going to start pushing your book to people that have interacted with it on Goodreads on the Amazon side now.
Got
So
it. Okay.
Goodreads has always been trying to remind authors about like, oh, you shelved this book, oh, you did that, and it's like, okay, great, those reminders. I mean, it's not a bad thing, but it's a huge shift to now get those reminders at the point of sale. Like people are already shopping on Amazon. They are there to purchase something. They are looking for things. And so yeah, this is like I don't mean to repeat myself, but this is like your book is now getting into that like impulse purchase category where as people are shopping, they're being reminded that, oh yeah, that book's on my shelf. I remember seeing that cover. Yeah, toss it in my, let's get it now. Let's check out, add it to my cart.
Well, and I think probably what Amazon discovered, because as you said, the books on the want to read shelf have always been or at least in recent history have been clickable over to Amazon. I think probably what Amazon discovered is that the buy ratio directly from Goodreads was probably much lower. And so here's a better way. Now that we have all these giveaways going all the time and these books are automatically being shelved, here's a better, because I mean, Amazon's all about Amazon.
Right.
This really benefits authors, but Amazon probably looked at that and said, we're going to make more money doing it this way.
Exactly. Like,
You
let's make
know,
it easier for them to add that book to their cart and remind them when they are right there in the moment, already shopping for things with the intention to buy and spend money.
yeah,
When
yeah,
you're
yeah,
when you're on Goodreads, you're not, I'm sure most users don't go to Goodreads in a shopping mode. You know
for
what I mean?
sure. Right.
They're reviewing, they're discovering, they're checking on their groups, you know what I mean, all those other things. They're not there to shop. That's not really what their focus is for Goodreads. And now Amazon has smartly integrated the two, so there's more shopping power behind what's going on with Goodreads by integrating, what people are interested in and reminding them at the point of sale when they're on Amazon.
Well, and essentially, I mean, here's Amazon just being Amazon again. Amazon is using Goodreads as a funnel.
Yes,
Amazon
absolutely.
is using a Goodreads as a funnel to funnel more buyers, to funnel more sales, which again benefits authors. So if it's on, if it's on somebody's, want to read shelf and it shows up when they're, on Amazon, then I mean I think any visibility, and this also I got to tell you, for all the haters out there, this also makes that $119 entry fee for your Goodreads giveaway. I mean, I hope those prices don't go up. I hope now that I've said it, I didn't jinx everything, but that makes it so much more, I mean, frankly, lucrative for authors, because now you're getting this additional exposure on Amazon that you're essentially not paying for, because you have to pay for everything on Amazon. I mean,
Right.
you know what I mean? I mean, you, you pay for ads, you do, I mean, there is no end to how much money that you can spend trying to get your books visible on Amazon. $119. I mean, hello.
Right. To know
Now,
that, yep, it's a big deal.
yeah, this is a really, really big deal. And I know we're going to break down, I know we're going to talk about action steps in a second. And I already have a bunch of questions for you, but um I think that, Goodreads seemed like it was just kind of going down the wrong track, because it did remove several author features in recent
Yep.
years, which I found like I found that very confusing, because I'm like, well, Amazon owns you. I mean, are they going to close? Like at some point, I thought, well, maybe they're just going to close down Goodreads. I mean,
I know.
you know what I mean?
Yeah, it was scary for a while because I'm like, what is going on here? And what is your end goal? And honestly, nobody asked me, nor do I have any insider info, but I have a sneaking suspicion that they were just getting too many. It was turning into too much of a tech support thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Like, I
yeah,
think they decided there was too much going on and too much for authors to figure out how to use,
yeah,
which kind of bums me out a little bit. But at the same time, I can kind of understand, like, they're like, okay, what are our goals for this site? What are, users' goals for this site? What are authors' goals for this site? And maybe they decided it wasn't to learn 8 new tricks. You know what I mean? Maybe.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
at the time it was really critical because they were like, okay, here's your list of things that authors can do on Goodreads. And as that list started shrinking, it's like, what's really going on here? And where's the tipping point going to be?
Well, and I also think that it's really high time. I mean, how long is I remember being at Book Expo America when Amazon bought Goodreads. So I said it was a handful of years ago. It's been more than that.
Yeah.
I mean, you were I think it's maybe been even 10 years if I'm not mistaken. But I think it's really high time that Amazon treats Goodreads more strategically, as opposed to just this little thing that it bought and doesn't really know what to do with, right? And
Yes.
this, as you pointed out, this could potentially signal, even bigger, stronger tools for authors and a better, um, richer reader interaction. I mean, hopefully they're going to continue doing these updates. I think that when Goodreads sees an uptick in um giveaways because of this,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I think that that's going to really start to open up the doors to doing for Amazon to do more robust strategic things with Goodreads. So break down the action steps. Like what? So I'm an author. I do Goodreads giveaways for my books. What's changed here from that? I mean, or actually, you know what? Why don't you just pretend that I'm an author that doesn't really know what to do with Goodreads? What do I do?
Okay. Ooh, all right, no pressure. But
No
no,
pressure,
truly.
Amy. No pressure.
Well, and you know what's interesting, and maybe everybody listening is like, what? Amy should not be that shocked because Amazon owns Goodreads. But as I'm thinking about it, I'm like, you know what? A lot of what we recommend for Amazon is also really relevant for Goodreads. So it's not static. So keeping your profile optimized, keeping it complete, keeping it updated. We've talked about this on how many shows, Penny, when we say, like, if your website says your book is coming soon and it released last June, that's a problem. You know?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Or if your bio on Amazon says author of and lists a couple books, but you're now on your sixth, details like that matter. So treat your Goodreads profile because that is quite literally part of your resume. We talk about it all the time. Everything you do is part of your resume. It's part of your platform and it's part of your brand. So put Goodreads when we remind y'all to do regular updates, check in on all your stuff, do your housekeeping, add Goodreads to that list and make sure that that housekeeping is done as well. And what's really great is that you can engage with your want to read shelf. You can encourage your readers to use it, encourage your fans. I mean, I think a lot of this, Penny, honestly, and I realize this is like a sweeping statement, but getting used to treating Goodreads as a really quality, important element of your overall platform
Yes.
instead of, you know what I mean? That cousin we don't really want to talk to at Thanksgiving.
Right. Right.
Like
Exactly.
just kind of incorporate Goodreads into all those good habits that we always talk about, encourage you guys to track and follow up on.
Yeah.
So engage with people, encourage your followers to engage with you on Goodreads as well. Add a call to action on your email list. Like remind people, add it to your want to read shelf. Because remember, if it's on their want to read shelf, they will get reminders on Amazon that they probably should buy this book.
Yeah.
So that is something that you want to do too. Want to read is not just reserved for giveaways. That is something that you should be pushing all the time. So you can do that on your social media, on your newsletter, things like that. And you might think like, well, if they're on my newsletter, they probably already have my book, but you never know who they might share it with.
Right. That's the thing too. That's too.
Yeah,
Right.
never talk yourself out of an opportunity, right?
Right. Right.
Like
Right.
it may seem kind of redundant sometimes, but it's better. We say this with reviews all the time. I think, Penny, it doesn't hurt to remind people. It doesn't hurt to remember you need to say things 2, 3, 5, 10 times because most people mean well, but we all get busy.
Yeah.
Like life is a real thing. And so most people that follow you, support you, that are genre fans, even that don't even know you very well yet, all are very well intentioned, but they need those pushes. They need those reminders.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
That's absolutely true. Yeah. I love that idea of engaging with your readers to add add this to your want to read shelf. I think that's
Yes.
so smart.
In your other books, for those of you listening that have more than one book or plan to, that's another thing too, is that this is a habit you want to get readers in. They want, you know what I mean? Or in your communications and in your self marketing and self promotion, you want to encourage people to add your books to their want to read shelf. So remember, this isn't always about the book that you're focused on right now. It could be your backlist also. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like that's a great way to utilize your newsletter and maybe one of your backlist titles and say, hey, remember to add that next time you're on Goodreads, add it to your want to read shelf. And you can make your book, you can add a click through for your book onto your Goodreads shelves. We do that a lot for our Amazon listings. We do that a lot for other things. Make it easy for them. Make it easy for them to click something to get to your book on Goodreads as well. And
Yeah.
then they're just right there.
Yeah,
And a
exactly.
lot of people that use Goodreads use the app on their phones and stuff like that too, you know?
Yeah.
So making it easy, making it clickable, one stop, shopping after those reminders. If you have Linktree or any of those other um, apps that help you add multiple links to your social media that can send people traffic in different ways, make sure that Goodreads is represented there, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that's another big one. You can use your profile or you could use your books individually depending on what makes the most sense. And again, this is part of this. It shouldn't be static. If you're promoting a new book, make that the feature. But when when the newness starts to fade off, cycle through, highlighting some of your backlists, things like that.
Well, and running a Goodreads giveaway doesn't have to necessarily be exclusive to brand new books either, right?
Not at all.
So it can really help to spike some of that activity too.
Yes, absolutely. Run regular giveaways. Like Penny already said, they're $119. That is something that I think is absolutely worth working into your kind of annual marketing budget to do a handful of times a
For
year.
sure. Yeah.
And for those of you that aren't super familiar with Goodreads giveaways, or maybe you've done them like just to check it off your list, but don't actually know what the full benefits are. I mean, Goodreads does remind winners to review the book. And so depending
Yes.
on how many you give away, like that may just be a handful of people, but that still doesn't hurt. Every review counts. And then entrance, like we said, but I'm going to say it again. Anybody who enters to win your book, this is not just winners. Anybody who enters to win a copy of your book gets your book on their want to read list because that is so freaking huge. I got to tell you guys right now, we are averaging and we work with a lot of different kinds of books. So obviously different levels of like quote unquote mass market appeal. So, but even with that in mind, we average between 2,000 and 4,000 entries for our clients' giveaways
Isn't that amazing?
on a regular basis. I
Isn't
mean,
that
and
amazing?
yes, and some of our mass market genre fiction titles have tipped over the 5,000 mark.
That's amazing. Now let me ask you a question. I know we
Yeah.
really talked about this in the green room, but so when you run a Goodreads giveaway, you can choose to do like 5 books or 50 books, and usually if authors are going over like the 10 book number, they're usually doing ebooks. Do you have any recommendation in terms of how many authors should give away?
I mean, there's a few different considerations to make. We love doing print. I mean, we love when authors test out different versions. Typically, when we work with an author, we do have a few clients that we work with Goodreads giveaways kind of ongoing over multiple releases, some of our long-term clients, and that is a slightly different animal. Typically, though, when we work with an author, we do one like big, robust Goodreads program with them, and we lean toward print books because it's easier for the author to sign the book if they want to, if they have them on hand. They can
Mhm.
include a note. We have had clients, Penny, put together little like gift packages of some swag and stuff that they send their books out with.
Which I think is so cool.
It's so smart and it's so cool and it's amazing branding. And so the print option, especially if you have them on hand or are willing to even buy a few copies of your own book to have on hand to put something special together, is really next level. But so we say 5, but some authors, like some of our clients, we have a client right now that says, let's go with 10. Like, let's do it. Like, I've got books here. Let's make this big. And, and so it really, I mean, I think it's fair to say, like, what's in your budget? What can you manage in terms of logistics? What do you have on hand? What are you willing to do? But then I do think that as you do another Goodreads giveaway, maybe 3 to 4 months down the road, try a Kindle giveaway, and see what kind of responses you get from that, because that's another option. You can do
Yeah.
print or you can do Kindle. We usually focus on print again because it's a lot more personalized. But Kindle, there's nothing wrong with that. And if you are in a genre where ebooks are the preference, that might factor into whether or not you do Kindle. And then again, what's really nice about it is that if you are super busy with other marketing efforts or life in general, if you do a Kindle giveaway, Goodreads handles everything for you. They ensure that, and it's amazing how many authors don't realize that. We've had clients that are like, well, I want to do Kindle, but how do I get those to the winners and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Like, nope, they handle it all. So they choose the winners. The book magically appears on their Kindle device. It's amazing. So
Yeah.
there are definitely pros to both, but we do love the personalization of a print giveaway for sure.
Yeah, I really love doing, I mean, I think that oh, I love mailing print books with signed print books to the winners, and you pull something in there, and it's not always necessarily like a swag bag or something, but it's just something a little bit extra. You won this book,
Yep.
what a cool thing, and there's a note from the author. I think that level of personalization is really fabulous. So, okay, so what's next? So we monitor good. So you recommend monitoring Goodreads just to see if there's a spike or what? Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, and this is for the data people, for
Right.
sure.
Not all of us are data people, but yeah,
No,
yeah,
not all of us are data people, but there is, I mean, if you are a data person, it's worth watching after you do a giveaway. You like check your want to read shelf and like watch those numbers go up. And
yeah,
then after a giveaway, and again, we're not sitting here like encouraging people to like lose their minds, refreshing their Amazon like sales stat numbers by any means, because we would never, you know what I mean, put somebody through that knowingly. But it is worth seeing if, especially now that Amazon has, added this integration in the future, I think it will be worth it if authors take a look to see if there is a higher correlation of an increase in sales and in traffic after a giveaway based on the fact that Amazon will now be actively reminding shoppers to purchase books that they have engaged with on the Goodreads side, because
yeah,
that was not a thing before, you know.
yeah, 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 yeah,
And I think, it's worth noting that, Kindle and Audible, where it's literally one click shopping. Nobody's waiting for anything in the mail. Talk about impulse shopping at its finest, right?
oh yeah, I know it. Yeah, 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 yeah.
And I
Um,
think it's, and to that point too, Penny, sorry, real quick, like you may have done a print giveaway, you have your entrance, but maybe those people are Kindle readers. Maybe those people are actually Audible readers, but they were interested enough and they're like, okay, if I win a print copy, that would be cool. But maybe they actually gravitate toward Audible anyway.
yeah,
And so you may also notice, like, so pay attention to all of your formats across the board, not just because you did a print giveaway. Is it going to increase my print sales because somebody, you know what I mean? Like, I would definitely like consider all of your sales across the board. And if you even see small spikes in other formats, I think there's a very good chance that you could say that some of that is from traffic and generated interest through this new integration.
yeah, 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 exactly. So how often, I mean, you know, unless you have a whole lot, unless you have a really robust backlist, authors are probably not running, you know, Goodreads giveaways like all the time, right? But for the average author, do you have a recommendation in terms of um, how often they should run? I mean, I know you like authors to run giveaways regularly, but is there a recommendation?
Yeah, I mean, I would say quarterly is
Yeah,
fair.
I think that's reasonable. Yeah.
I think a quarterly giveaway is fair. And, quarterly doesn't have to be calendar. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
think based on your book, there might be certain times a year where it makes more sense to run a giveaway. You know, we had a rerun show recently about Christmas in July and planning for Christmas and things like, you know what I mean? Christmas sales and things like that. So if there's something about your book that ties into a certain season or a certain holiday or anything like that, plan your Goodreads. Like, so who cares if you do two Goodreads giveaways in 4 months if in that 4 month block, there are two really great opportunities that make sense for either your topic, your genre, what your readers are looking for, things like that, you know? So it's never wrong to be strategic and just run the giveaways during time periods where you think there's an increased chance in somebody being super receptive to wanting to read a book like yours at that time, if that makes
Right.
sense.
Right. Exactly. And I think that this really kind of, I think and we referenced the Reddit string at the beginning of the show, that and there was this whole string, and some guy had like a click out to a video, and there was like so many people commenting on there. And I think that, to me, if even before this happened, I was always a fan of Goodreads giveaways. Obviously, we do them for our authors. We're huge fans of Goodreads. We don't work for Goodreads or Amazon. Let's just be clear. We just we're. I know we sound
Right.
like we're. I know we sound like we're getting a commission. Trust me, we're not.
I wish we
But
did. That'd be amazing.
that would be amazing. I know, but it's really just about steering authors in solid strategic directions, and Goodreads is one of them. And some of the comments were really around the Goodreads value, like what's the value of both Goodreads, but specifically, um, specifically
The giveaways.
specifically the giveaways. And one of the things that you and I talked about, and you can kind of run with this, is that, I mean, unfortunately, there are a number of authors that aren't doing things correctly,
Right.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think that a lot of that sort of colors their experience with, with the Goodreads giveaways.
Yes, and how effective Goodreads is in general. I think I wouldn't surprise me if a lot of people that don't have a positive experience or just don't quote unquote like, I'm doing air quotes, Goodreads, there's a very good chance, like take that with a grain of salt and take the time to know how to use the site properly as an author, because there's a very good chance, and there's a reason we have this podcast. There's a very good chance that some of these authors that aren't having a great experience on Goodreads aren't doing all the things correctly. And
True.
that's fair. But you know what I mean? There's so much that goes. Goodreads is super fans. These are super readers. This is quite literally a social platform for readers specifically.
Right.
That's another reason we do like it so much, because while there's so much you can do on other social media platforms, people are there for a billion and one reasons that have nothing to do with your book.
Yeah.
People
Yeah.
go,
Right.
yeah, people go to Goodreads and use Goodreads to nerd out about books. And
Yes.
so it really is such a, captive audience potentially.
Yeah.
But because these are super readers and they are there to focus on books and book recommendations and chatting with authors and getting to find new books and new authors, they are serious. Like, you have to show up with your A game here. So I think I think you're right, Penny. I think a lot of people have mixed feelings about Goodreads because they may have had a couple not so nice reviews, because again, super fans, they know their stuff. Do not show up to play in the sandbox if you're not ready,
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I think that's very true. And then I also think that, I mean, sometimes we expect way more from a particular strategy than I think it can reasonably deliver.
Yes.
And, for $119, um, in the grand scheme of all the investments that you'll make in your book, it isn't a massive investment in,
Right.
today's market. And the other piece of it, though, too, the other reason that we like it and really wanted to do a show about this, other than the big news, is the fact that, there isn't, I mean, a lot of times authors will invest in random weird things online that don't really have any kind of a specific outcome, right? They
Right.
don't have it, there's no, or deliverables, I guess is the word du jour. Whereas Goodreads is you know exactly what you're getting.
Right.
And there's no question, there's no, so, if we're going with just, I want to invest my money in things that I know are kind of a sure bet, you know exactly what you're going to get. You just don't necessarily know. So I've had authors tell me sometimes on the phone that I thought everybody was going to review my book. I don't want to do a giveaway again because I thought everybody was going to review my book. And look, if you're getting 2,000 entries and five of those people review your book, I think that's a win, right? I mean,
I yeah, I mean, Penny, think how many everybody listening right now. I would be willing to bet if you already have a book out, at least I'm willing to bet you've sold more books than you have reviews to account for.
oh, for sure. Yeah, I would hope so. Yes.
You know what I mean? So that also there, doing a Goodreads giveaway is not like the secret way to cut the line to ensure you get a review for every single
Ah,
book that gets in somebody's hands.
ah,
If that was the case, holy moly, like everybody would be doing these all the time, and a lot of other things would be going right as well.
yeah.
But you have to keep things in perspective. So like, yeah, expecting everyone who wins to review your book is even an overreach, let alone people that don't win. And you hope, like, well, and that's another part of this too, that I think people also, because they do a giveaway, sure, you have 2,000 entrants and they're like, all right, only 10 people won. Let me wait for those other, like 1,990 people to go buy my book tomorrow because they didn't win. And it's like, that's probably super unrealistic as well. It doesn't mean some people won't go ahead and buy. And again, this is why this new integration with Amazon is so important, because now they will be getting reminders to buy. Before, there were no reminders. It was just that contest that somebody entered. Oh, you know what I mean? And then all of a sudden the book falls off their radar because they didn't win. That is what Amazon is trying to correct with this, is that somebody showed an interest in this book. They don't want to lose that momentum. So now they are going to remind people on the Amazon side that, hey, you were interested in reading this book when you could get a free one. How about you add it to your cart right now? Look, it's only $5.99 or whatever. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But that's what Amazon is trying to do. But I do think that that's where a lot of the expectations were really thrown off, and why some people had a sour taste in their mouth about Goodreads, and especially the reviews, is because they're like, well, I paid $119. Where are all my reviews? And why didn't I sell a bunch of books afterwards from people who didn't get a free copy? And
Right.
that's just not a fair way to look at it. That is not how Goodreads, quote unquote, sells these either. You know what I mean? Nobody promised you that and then didn't deliver on it. That is just, I think a lot of authors have really high expectations for this to kind of fill in a lot of holes for them
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
like close the gaps in a lot of areas for their reviews and their sales. I mean, how fabulous would that be? But Goodreads can't control buyer behavior any more than you or I can. But fortunately, now Goodreads has Amazon helping them along with this integration and reminding people at the point of sale that they may want to add this book to their cart because they were interested in it before.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I think it's just a really brilliant, it is a really brilliant addition. And I mean, put on your let's look in your crystal ball, Amy.
Yeah,
And
right.
where do you think, obviously, look, it took Amazon 10 years to do this.
Right.
I really hope it doesn't take another 10 years to, like, oh, well, let's just revisit this in 10 years and figure out, you know what I mean?
Right, exactly. But yeah, I mean, I think that if Amazon is willing to start merging, like syncing these features, I really hope that they have more in the works. And I
Yeah.
really do think if they see this working, hopefully that means some of these additional, like other changes and other improvements will happen even faster. So I'm certainly hoping that shoppers respond well, because I love a reminder. I have a short-term memory like a goldfish. So if Amazon reminded me that I had wanted this book on Goodreads, and once I start getting those reminders, I 100% am going to end up adding some more books to my cart,
Yeah.
because I need a reminder. Again, best of intentions, but the reminders are key. And so I really do think, and I would love to see them integrate more of their book data, like the data that Amazon has for authors. it would be really nice if they could see some of that on the Goodreads side too, and like kind of merge some of that across the board, because I really do think it would behoove Amazon for more authors to use Goodreads as a way to connect with readers. And we've done shows on this, so I won't like get on my soapbox right now. And when I say that, I don't mean sell your book to people, get on there as a fan of your genre. We talk about that a lot, Penny. Like, be a fan of your genre, read books, review books, get involved in the groups, talk about books, talk about tropes, talk about, you know what I mean? Things up and coming in genres, get involved. And I really do think Amazon will benefit if authors do get involved on Goodreads more. And I think they'll be more inclined to start doing more of these syncing integrations across the two platforms, because as it is right now, authors are really spectators on Amazon. You know what I mean? Like, you can do your optimization and do all the right things for your first impression, but otherwise you just sit there and wait for things to happen. Goodreads is where you can actually get your hands involved and get involved with readers and interact with them.
Yeah.
So I really think Amazon needs to continue merging those two in a way that authors feel like there's value in the interaction element more than they have in the past.
Yeah, I agree with that. And also, if I can just make a request of Amazon, not that they're going to listen to me, but if I could just make a request of Amazon, like, listen, if y'all are going to put the Goodreads ratings on one book, you need to put them on all books. Like, I don't understand what the problem is. I don't know what the holdup is,
right? Exactly.
Because we're not seeing that consistently. I mean, for a while we got really excited. We're like, oh my gosh, it's going to be great. But then they vanished, then they kind of came back, and then not all the books have them. So there's definitely more work to be done, but this is really exciting. I'm really, really glad that we did a show on this.
Yeah, I'm glad Goodreads is kind of turning into more of a sales tool, and they're sweetening the deal for authors to get involved, which I love, because it's one thing for us to say, like, get involved, we believe in you. And it's another for Goodreads and Amazon to actually start giving authors, tangible benefits like this will be, I feel like.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And we hope that you have found this show helpful. Amy, this was a great idea to do a show on this. I'm so pleased. I should let Amy just outline all shows from now on. Just kidding.
No, I mean, it's easy to get excited about something when we have a new announcement. I love the breaking headlines.
I know. We don't often get the breaking headlines in book publishing, but I unless they're about Amazon doing something weird.
Right, exactly.
This was Amazon doing something good. So we all love reporting on that.
Right.
Well, listen, we want to thank you all so much for listening. And again, we love reviews wherever you listen to podcasts. Amy has some cool little walkthrough on how to do it on iTunes. And by the way, we love your show ideas and your show feedback and all the things. So feel free to reach out to us. We have been doing this show now for 5 years. And one of the things that we just recently started doing was rerunning some content that was popular, but maybe that you missed if you just started listening to the show this season. So you probably saw a few weeks ago some of those shows that we reran. We'd love to get your feedback on that too. Love it. What do you think? We're always rerunning any shows, obviously, that we run are evergreen. So this isn't something like, you're not going to get some of the Amazon changed this particular thing as a rerun show, because a lot of times that is already old news. But we welcome all of your input on the podcast. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.